Hello YouTube and welcome to my review of Amazing Spider-Man number 11, Volume 7. We're going to get into spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, here's your warning. Let's take a look at the creative team. We have two stories in this oversized issue. Broken Mirror, written by Joe Kelly and artist John Romita Jr., and the second story, Broken Man, written by Joe Kelly and artist Pepe Larraz. Issue 11 starts with a flashback that we've seen several times over the last few issues. Aunt May is reminiscing about Peter as a child. A little strange here that it's late, it's 1 a.m. in the morning, and her new boyfriend shows up. We then cut to Peter and Spider-Man facing off, and each is trying to figure out who the other one is, and of course, fighting is the best way to do that. It is revealed that the imposter Peter is actually Chasm Ben Reilly. Spider-Man wants to know what he's done with the real Peter Parker, and Ben replies that he's made him better. Spider-Man swings off and the Black Cat arrives. We then cut to Tombstone's home where Shocker, who took a beating recently from the hands of Spider-Man, is getting some doctor's attention. The doctor, RX, who seems to be a new character, tells Tombstone that the Shocker will be back on his feet after a 3 days rest. Tombstone makes his way to his balcony when a winged hobgoblin arrives, looking to cut a deal. But Tombstone politely declines. We then cut to Ben and Felicia getting together at a bar to discuss Peter, and I'm not really sure why they couldn't have done this on the rooftop just a few pages ago. But here we are. Felicia wants to know where Peter is. Ben reassures her that he's alive, he can feel it because of their clone bond. Janine, Ben's girlfriend, arrives, and Felicia remarks about her red hair. Ben tells Felicia that she's asking the wrong questions, that she shouldn't be asking where Peter is, but why he doesn't want to come home. We then cut to Spidey getting home, and there's some panels that show Aunt May, and it is revealed that the Spider-Man imposter is none other than Norman Osborn. We then see that Norman is being watched and targeted by an armored alien-looking guy. We then cut to our second story. We see a creature in a strange place, and it ends badly for him. We see a disheveled Peter hiding in the shadows. We flash back and we see Peter in a strange place, scavenging for food and water when he is rescued. Peter is now on the Beacon, a self-sustaining deep space research vessel. He's working with an alien creature who he calls Dr. Starblood. They seem to be very friendly, bantering back and forth. Peter also making some jokes about Dr. Starblood's flex suit. They share a meal and Peter really just wants some pizza. Dr. Starblood remarks about his research and his writings. He seems to be studying Peter and helping him with the quest to get stronger that was challenged by Hellgate. After their work is done, Peter wanders off and discovers that Dr. Starblood is capturing and studying all types of creatures from the universe. Dr. Starblood has followed Peter, and Peter demands that he let his captors go. Dr. Starblood suggests that they have a drink and discuss the matter. Peter refuses and goes on the attack, fearing that the same fate will happen for himself. Dr. Starblood tries again to reason with Peter, reminding him that he's in space on his ship with no place to go, and that he had rescued Peter just a few weeks ago. Peter gets away and finds Dr. Starblood's flex suit and remarks how it feels like wearing nothing at all but being covered by armor. Dr. Starblood asks Peter if he likes the suit, and he says that's some of his best work. They continue to fight as Peter tries to learn the powers of the suit. The suit attacks, and Peter gets the upper hand, knocking Dr. Starblood out. Peter quickly heads to the others being held and releases them. We see a cast of characters, including Rocket Raccoon. Rocket remarks, "Oh great, another Peter to the rescue." And that's where our issue and story ends. Thoughts on this issue? It was good. I mean, we finally get some answers. Ben Reilly has been impersonating Peter, but we still don't know why, or we don't really understand the reason why. Norman is Spider-Man, and Peter is off in space. But again, we don't know why Peter's there, or not know why or how, the reason behind it. Obviously, it has something to do with Hellgate, but we don't know the details. So, a couple of strange things in this issue. As I mentioned earlier, Aunt May and her boyfriend hanging out at 1 a.m. I just feel like Aunt May, as like an older woman, wouldn't be happy if someone shows up at her apartment at 1 a.m. other than maybe Peter. So I thought that was a little out of place for the issue. The Ben Riley and Black Cat interactions. They initially met on the rooftop, and then they meet again later at a bar to discuss Peter. And I was like, well, from a continuity perspective, or just like, why wouldn't they just have that conversation when they first met on the rooftop? Why did they have to set something up later on to go, have that conversation? It just seemed very weird. I did really enjoy the second half of the story. I just hope that it wasn't a ploy to introduce a new costume. We've seen this along the way where they try to introduce. Obviously we've got the classic, red and blue suit for Spider-Man, and then other than Venom, the symbiote suit, the black suit. Nothing has really ever stuck as far as different suits for Spider-Man. Maybe Iron Spider. So I just, like I said, I hope it just wasn't just a long drawn out way to introduce another costume, but we'll see. I do feel like Joe Kelly's writing style is open to a lot of loose ends, and then he obviously pays them off later. Obviously a lot of writers do that, right? You have some setup in the beginning, but it seems like Kelly really does a lot of this, where he's setting a lot of different things up. So I feel like knowing that as a reader going in will kind of help you enjoy the story a little bit better. Just not always feeling like there's a cliffhanger and you're not going to get an answer. But overall, I like this issue because we filled in a lot of the loose ends. We learned a little bit more about what is actually going on. So I'm going to go ahead and give it 3.5 web heads out of 5. I'm starting to really enjoy what Kelly's doing. Although it's taken me a little while to kind of get used to his writing style, like I said, and the way he, leaves a lot of threads open in the story. But he does seem to be paying them off at some point in the future. So I think it's just a matter of, for me, getting used to that style. I don't know if anybody's read. I have not read a big chunk of Joe Kelly's work before. I know he had a strong run on Deadpool and Spider-Man, so I don't know if that was something that was very familiar in his writing in previous, books that he's done. So if you've read any of Joe Kelly's previous work, let me know. And was this kind of his style, his trademark when he writes? So yeah, that's what I got for you today. Leave me a comment and let me know if you're still reading ASM. This is issue number 11, volume 7. If you did, what did you think of the story, the art? Obviously, some different styles between John Romita Jr. and then Pepe Larraz. And if you're not reading it, I hope you really enjoyed my review. And I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next video.